All right, guys, we just did my top 10 most anticipated horror movies of 2024, but there are so many that I am personally looking forward to that I thought I need to give you two lists, all right? So anyway, here are my top 10 most anticipated horror movies of 2024, Volume 2. What's up, guys? Welcome back. As of this recording, it's still not the new year yet. There's a possibility I could get this out before the new year, so you get both videos. I think last year I only put out one video. So I think what that means is this has the potential to be one of the better years in horror. We shall see. A lot of these movies could turn out to be stinkers, right? Also, quickly, I want to thank my patrons for your patience. There's a couple of patron reviews that I need to put out, and I've talked to those on the side to let them know these end of year lists. As soon as I get done with those, then I get back to doing the, I guess, regularly scheduled reviews and patron reviews and whatnot. Patrons, you guys are the most awesome people in the world. I can't thank you enough. And I'm looking forward to a great year of horror for 2024. Also, become a channel member. That's something I just started a couple weeks ago. And I already got like 4 channel members. So if you want to stand out in the live streams, get some exclusive perks, definitely consider becoming a channel member. So anyway, let's not waste any time. Let's get right down to it. As always, I'm going to give you 2 honorable mentions. Actually, looking at my list here, I got three honorable mentions for you. Okay, so the first one is going to be Witchboard. From what I'm gathering, it's kind of a retelling of the 1986 Witchboard, which I've never seen. Hasn't there been, there's Ouija, there's like a Ouija movie that revolves around a witch board. Hell, the first Exorcist, that's how the whole thing broke out. Regan was looking at a witch board. Did I say it wrong again? I don't know if I say Regan or Reagan. I don't know, guys, okay? But yeah, I wouldn't expect anything crazy by this. You know, what I mean is just kind of the same old formulaic. I hope I'm wrong. We shall see. One thing to note is this is directed by Chuck Russell. I think it's the Chuck Russell who directed A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3. So that does give me hope. Second honorable mention is The First Omen. Again, this is another one of those movies we don't know very much about. It's probably gonna be a prequel to the original Omen movie. We know how these prequels go. More times than not, they're nothing to write home about. This might go the same route, I don't know. Wasn't there like an Omen remake that came out in 06? But I doubt that this one's a prequel to that. It's probably a prequel to the original. But if it is a prequel to the original, then is it going to be a period piece and set back in the 70s? Who knows? That's part of the fun of these anticipated lists anyway, is just speculation. You know, there's a lot that we don't know, and it's kind of cool to look back on it, even looking back at like my videos and see what I said and if it kind of matched up with what actually happened. Like right now, I'm gonna be honest, I'm not expecting this movie to be amazing or anything, but wouldn't it be great if it turns out to be like Ouija Origin of Evil, that sequel that it turned out to be really, really good. But it says here it's directed by Arkasha Stevenson, and the story revolves around a young woman trying to stop the birth of evil incarnate. Okay, and the last honorable mention is going to be Heretic. I don't know too much about this movie, but I know that Hugh Grant has joined the fold. Also, it is an A24 movie, and that automatically puts it up quite a few rungs. According to Deadline, the plot details officially under wraps, but the film is rumored to center on 2 young women of faith who are lured into a cat and mouse game in the home of an eccentric man. I think the key word there is eccentric, because it's A24 and there's always some sort of weird aspect to any A24 horror movie. If you remember last year we had Talk to Me, definitely had some weird shit going on. But I'm really excited about this just because it's A24. That is the power of A24 at this point. It automatically brings interest. Okay, jumping into the top 10. Number 10 is Baghead. This one looks interesting. It is a creature feature. Freya Allen is in this, who was in The Witcher. The trailer looks really interesting as well. But it's about this woman, she inherits this lost pub. And the creature is unique because it will let you speak to your loved ones. So it's a functional creature, I guess, before it kills you. I don't know. Is the creature going to kill you after you speak to your loved ones? Are your loved ones gonna come back from the dead? I have questions. This looks very interesting. Number 9 is Imaginary. Jeff Wadlow directs this one. He was behind Truth or Dare, Fantasy Island. That doesn't muster much hope. I saw the trailer for this, and it looks like I don't know if it's a killer teddy bear. But we've seen a lot of these movies lately come out of Blumhouse where it's some kind of creature or toy and it becomes evil, or maybe it's evil to begin with. I'm guessing the young girl got the toy, didn't know that it was evil. According to Fangoria, it says a ferocious teddy bear and perhaps an army of evil imaginary friends. When Jessica moves back into her childhood home with her family, her youngest stepdaughter, Alice, develops an eerie attachment to a stuffed bear named Chauncey she finds in the basement. So, I mean, these movies are a dime a dozen, all right? It could be horrible, it could be great, who knows? We shall see. But because of previous projects, under the helm of Jeff Wadlow, he did Truth or Dare, Fantasy Island. That is a red flag. So, but I'll give any new horror movie a chance, so we shall see. It is, you know, it's a major studio. I think it's Blumhouse. Number 8 is Thread and Insidious Tale. I put this on here because it sounds interesting. I like when they get creative and try to do spin-offs of horror properties. I'm not the biggest fan of the Insidious franchise, especially after Part 5. That one was really bad. I'm seeing that Mandy Moore is behind this in some capacity. There's very little in the way of plot details as far as what this movie revolves around. I doubt it has anything to do with the Red Demon, and at this point I don't even care to say anything about the Red Demon. But wouldn't it be something for horror fans like me that aren't the biggest fan of Insidious, that they come up with a spin-off that's actually better than Insidious? It's possible. I'm definitely gonna give it a chance. Now the trailer could come out for this thing and it could look atrocious, right? But we shall see. Okay, number 7, Shelby Oaks, and this is probably the movie that I'm rooting for the most because it's a YouTuber, Chris Stuckman, who has inspired so many of us, including myself, and he has actually made a film on his own, and I could not be happier for him, and I'm hoping and praying that this is amazing. But even if it's not great or even good, kudos to him for at least making a movie, you know, because how many of us have that chance? And just to kind of sidestep on that, because I know Chris Stuckman said he doesn't review bad movies anymore, and I'm sure this might have something to do with it because he's now entering that field. And ever since Chris Stuckman did that, I literally have people that get onto me when I tear movies apart. And that's not Chris Stuckman's fault, that's just you guys' fault, I guess. Because Chris Stuckman said he doesn't want to review bad movies anymore, all of us should not do it. But that's just my personal prerogative. I think a very small percentage of us will ever make a movie. It's less than 1%. And if you do it and it's shit, it's still great that you did it. It's experience, you know? And there's a lot of directors that probably started off making really bad movies. But I think as viewers and critics, I think it's our responsibility to, I guess, critique the art. But at the end of the day, it's just art. And the only reason for that is because it gives feedback to the creator. And the creator might take that feedback in a positive way and make it good. But I'm not saying Shelby Oaks is going to be bad. It could be really great. Now, according to the plot details, when a documentarian uncovers a disturbing new lead, a woman's desperate search for her long-lost sister falls into obsession when she comes to believe the imaginary demon from their childhood may have been real all along. So, it sounds like a really interesting plot. Looking at some of the footage that I've seen of this film, it definitely gives me like Blair Witch vibes. But I don't think there's been a trailer out for this at all. So, you know, when you look at behind the scenes stuff, that could look completely different than the actual trailer. Who knows? So, I'll be there day one though. Really curious about Shelby Oaks. And best of luck to Chris Stuckman. Number 6 is The One. The reason this caught my attention is because Melissa Barrera's in it. And Melissa Barrera in the horror community is all over the place lately with the controversy behind Scream and her being fired. And if you want to know all my thoughts on that, I have quite a few videos on it. But I'm Team Melissa Barrera all the way, and I hope and pray that she gets back on her feet, and you know, movies like The One end up being really great because it's just a nice little fuck you to Spyglass. And I heard they actually tried to get her back. I don't know if that's true or not, but yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. But the plot here looks really interesting. It revolves around a dating show, and she's a contestant. There's 2 other female contestants, and somehow there's a horror angle to all of this. That sounds like that could be a lot of fun. But I think Melissa Barrera, she's a fine actress. I think she'll do a really good job in this role, and I'm definitely rooting for her. Okay, number 5, Faces of Death. All I know about this movie is Dacre Montgomery from Stranger Things. He is in it. And this is, I guess, sort of a remake of the original Faces of Death from 1978. Now, going back into my history with this movie, I remember renting it back in like the early 90s. I was just on this bender of watching all these video nasties, and I guess you could call it like gratuitous horror and stuff like that. And the big rumor around this movie was that it was all real. These were actual deaths being, I guess, caught on tape. And there's always been this mystery around it. Is it real or was it not real? But I thought it was real when I was watching it back then. Still to this day, I don't know if it was real or not, but I remember it definitely looked real. Now, I'm sure this movie's not gonna be real deaths. They're gonna somehow form a plot around the idea of Faces of Death, because it wasn't even really a movie. It was just kind of a documentary style type deal. So I'm guessing they're forming an actual movie around the idea of Faces of Death, but Dacre Montgomery's in it, which tells me there's definitely going to be a budget behind this because, you know, he's in like Stranger Things. So I'm really, really curious about Faces of Death. Okay, top 4 here, and these are heavy hitters in my book, all right? Just like in the last list. So if you think this is going to be the best of the rest, no, it's going to be the rest of the best. Are you confused? So number 4 is Lisa Frankenstein. This is just another flavor of horror. It looks like a dark comedy, and there's like a Frankenstein type character, but I think there's a prom set around it. But here, the big thing you need to know about this movie is that it is written by Diablo Cody. We all love Jennifer's Body. She wrote that. She's written a couple other things. Man, I just love her writing, her style of dialogue, her humor around her movies. I think Jennifer's Body is highly underrated. And I think a lot of horror fans have really boosted it up, you know, propped it up, and let the rest of the world know how great it is. Jennifer's Body is really great, and it bombed royally when it came out, but I love the movie. I loved it when I first saw it, just because of Diablo Cody's writing. And Lisa Frankenstein looks like a damn fun time. Number 3, Nosferatu. I have not seen the original Nosferatu, which is crazy to me. As a horror fan, I should be ashamed of myself. But Robert Eggers is freaking directing this, who directed The Witch. I always want to call it The Witch. And The Lighthouse. Got a star-studded cast. You got Bill Skarsgård, Nicholas Hoult, Lily Rose Depp, Aaron Taylor Johnson. A lot of big stars. And plot synopsis, a gothic tale of obsession between a haunted young woman and the terrifying vampire infatuated with her. Did Nosferatu come out before Dracula? I think it did. And wasn't Dracula kind of based on Nosferatu? I'm not an expert on Dracula, okay? But Nosferatu, it's Robert Eggers. I'm sure this is going to be one of the best horror movies of the year, if not one of the best movies of the year. Definitely one I can't wait for. A lot of you are excited for this movie. I saw it in the comments on the first video. Where's Nosferatu? Where's Nosferatu? I was saving it for this list on purpose. Number 2, Smile 2. Parker Finn, who wrote and directed the first movie, he's back to do this one. That was the first movie he ever directed, and it was very, very effective. One of the scariest movies of the year. I would say Talk to Me and Smile are like a perfect double feature. And it's the perfect property to set up for a sequel. Talk to Me has already been approved for a sequel. I just don't think it's coming out in 2024. Otherwise, it would be on this list. But this one is scheduled to be released this year. I loved the first one. I think it didn't end as well as it started, but man, it started so freaking strong. The premise is irresistible. So I'm really looking forward to the sequel. And number 1, Saw 11. And very little details known about this one. I believe even the writers of the last one are not back for this one. So it's up in the air, but my money's on that this is going to be a sequel to Saw X, just because of how successful that movie was, and also John Kramer. I'm sure they're going to want him to come back, capitalize on that. We all love John Kramer when he's alive, right? I think they've figured that out. Also, just stripping it down, back to the basics. I know diehard Saw fans, they had some problems with Saw X because they wanted it to be a little bit more ambitious plot-wise. But I think the big message here is it didn't need to be that. And it worked so well the way it was. I think Saw 11, maybe it's an opportunity to kind of, you know, satisfy both parties, you know, maybe venturing in a little bit more plot-wise. But they might write themselves into a corner, because how far can you go to wedge between Saw 1 and Saw 2? You know, or this could be between Saw 2 and Saw 3. Who knows? Really curious. But it's always a good thing when we're getting more Saw, and it's definitely a good thing when, you know, folks like me that weren't the biggest fans of the franchise Now I'm actually kind of a fan after watching Saw X. I guess it's like any other franchise. You got your entries that you don't like and your entries that you do like, right? And I'd say I like half the Saw movies at this point. So yeah. So that's it, guys. That is my final 10 most anticipated horror movies of 2024. Now, in the comments, I want you to let me know, of these movies that I listed, were you surprised by any of the listings? Like, oh, I didn't know about that. Because that's always my goal here. After telling you about them, which ones are you the most looking forward to? Okay, I want to know about this list in the comments. Of course, you can mention others from the previous list as well. I thank you for all your comments. All right, I love getting down in there with you. I try to answer just about every comment, and I just love my viewers. All right, I thank you so much. So anyway, be sure to come over to Killer Flicks, where we talk horror all day and every day. And on Fridays, we do free for all Fridays. Follow my Drumdums on my socials, support me on Patreon, buy me a coffee. You know, guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, and Drumdum out.